Modern Warfare 4 Week 1 has officially come to an end, and after everything I've played, there's some that needs to be said. There's a lot that Modern Warfare 4 gets right, there's a lot that it gets wrong, and then there's the stuff that's just outright ugly. So let's break down Modern Warfare 4, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Starting off with the good section, the first thing I have to give MW4 credit for, you already know, is the gunplay. It just feels absolutely incredible. Every weapon has weight, every shot feels impactful, and the sound design really sells it.
Oh my.
So
What do you see? It just feels so punchy and so responsive. It is easily the best combat or shooting in any game I've played recently. And moving on to the movement, I think the movement feels absolutely amazing. It is super fluid. It is not anything like the Omni movement. Me personally, the Omni movement, I got sick and tired of that. I'm going to be honest. I didn't play Black Ops 7, but I played Black Ops 6. It was fun. Yes, it was good. But to be honest with you, Omni movement makes multiplayer super sporadic. It gets rid of the rhythm in the maps, and it just doesn't belong in, at least doesn't belong in Modern Warfare, and it's not here. And I could not be happier. But I played a ton of MW19, and it is quite similar to MW19. It is very grounded, it's smooth, it's responsive, and most importantly, it has rhythm. Almost forgot to bring up, I also love the mantling. The mantling is super fast. The wall climbing is really fast. I love that you can ADS while mantling. It is great. Also, the Typhoon slide is really sick. And now, here comes the maps. When it comes to the maps, I honestly think most of them play really well. The layouts are good, the lanes make sense, and because we're not dealing with the Omni movement anymore, the maps just feel way more natural to play. Silkworm is probably the most questionable one to me, mainly because that middle lane has a bunch of cars that you can hide behind, to be honest, that you can just hide behind. I really don't know how the community is gonna like the map. I think it plays good, but you gotta watch out for that middle lane. But besides that, I really don't have any complaints about the layouts themselves, and visually these maps look fantastic. They play good, they look good, the colors are just phenomenal. They're way better than MW19's release maps. Yeah, we've only played like 5 of the maps of MW4, and they've already blown most of MW19's maps out of the water. Man, MW19's maps were terrible. Onto the visuals, MW4 might genuinely be one of the best looking Call of Duties we've ever had. Now, I don't want to take away from MW19 because even today, that game still holds up incredibly well. But MW19 had that really gray, almost washed out look to it. MW4 actually has color. It's vibrant, it's detailed, and everything just looks phenomenal. The weapon models look great, the textures look great, the reload animations are as good as ever. I mean, they're always good, but man, the animators are just top notch. The motion capture and all the little details they put into the animation make everything feel so much more, I don't know, it just feels so immersive. Like you're actually manipulating the weapon instead of just watching an animation play out. Infinity Ward has some seriously talented animators, and I think that shows throughout the entire game. Up next, one of the most exciting parts of the game for me is the camos. Obviously, I haven't experienced the actual camo grind yet, so I can't tell you whether the challenges are good or if the challenges are terrible. But just looking at the camos themselves, I think they look really good. There's obviously going to be some that I like more than others, but overall, I'm really excited to grind these. I can't really say much more about them until we actually know what the grind looks like, but based purely on how they look, I'm definitely excited. And finally, one of the most surprising parts, I have to give credit to Infinity Ward to how quickly they've responded to the problems, bugs, any overpowered guns. I just need to give them credit for how quickly they have responded and fixed issues. It's not just that they have been nerfing overtuned weapons, they're actually making some pretty significant changes. The ISO and the Ortis were both extremely strong. They've already been toned down to the point where they're much more manageable. You still see people using them, obviously, but they're nowhere near as ridiculous as they were. And it's not just weapons. There were some pretty noticeable bugs during the beta. For example, simply pulling out a flashbang on PC could cut your FPS in half. And the zip gun also had a pretty similar problem, but that was also fixed. These were pretty major performance issues, and Infinity Ward fixed them extremely quickly. They've also made changes to things like footstep audio based on player feedback, which I still think they should still be turned down a little bit more, but at least they're trying. So whether it's weapons, bugs, audio, or other problems, they've been pretty damn quick to respond, and I think that's something worth giving them credit for. So overall, There's actually a lot of good here. The gunplay feels great. The movement feels smooth. The maps are fun. The game looks incredible. The cameras have me excited to grind. And Infinity Ward has shown that they're willing to listen and make changes. But obviously, Modern Warfare 4 is not perfect. And that's where things start to get bad. The first thing I want to talk about is SBMM, also known as skill-based matchmaking. I'm sure everybody that plays Call of Duty knows what that is at this point. But I'm not against playing good players. I'm not against playing bad players. Everybody loves playing bad players, let's be honest. But the problem is that every single match feels like I have to lock in, and it gets exhausting. There's barely any room just to mess around, try some stupid loadouts, or play casually. Every lobby feels like everyone's playing for $1 million, or their family is on the line. And after a while, just isn't fun. At least not for the average player. I can withstand it, but doesn't mean I want it. Next up in the bad section is spawns. I'm sure everyone that has been playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 has already noticed that the spawns are just absolute garbanzo beans, dude. These spawns are horrid. Honestly, I don't think the maps themselves are the problem. I actually really like the layouts, but the spawn system definitely needs some work. There have been way too many times where I'll spawn in and immediately get shot, or I'll spawn directly behind someone, or somebody will spawn directly behind me, or you barely push the middle of the map, and the next thing you know, there's 2 people in front of you, 3 people behind you, but then a guy rushing your right side, and they all just spawned in. It doesn't make sense. It's frustrating, and it can completely ruin an otherwise good match. Hopefully, this is something Infinity Ward continues to work on and pays attention to. Next thing is the gunsmith. Everybody already knows the problems with the gunsmith. It's been a thing since MW19's release. Now, I actually like having a lot of customization. I plan on doing a ton of videos in the future with weird, wacky builds with all these guns and attachments, which is on paper sounds like a good thing, but I think we've reached the point where there's just too much. Modern Warfare has always been known for having a ridiculous amount of attachments, or at least the reboot series, but some of these feel like they're just there to add another attachment to the list. I'd rather have fewer attachments that actually make a meaningful difference instead of having a million tiny stat changes that most people aren't even going to notice, or half the attachments don't do anything for you, or if they do, it's in a negative impact and it just makes your gun worse. So at that rate, you don't want to run 5 attachments. Like in MW2, it was better to run like 3 attachments than have 5 because there were so many attachments in that game that just hindered your gun, and nobody wants that. It does not create a good game. It doesn't make a fun game. It creates a boring and meta-enhanced game. Speaking of meta-enhanced games, we have the meta weapon balancing. At the beginning of the beta, the ISO and the Ortis were everywhere, and honestly, they were way too strong. And in my humble opinion, I still think they're too powerful, especially the ISO at range. I think for an SMG, dominates way too hard from a range. In the Ortis as well, I'm gonna be honest, I think that gun realistically should not one-shot to the body, even though it's the upper chest. That gun just shoots so fast that it's gotta be a one-shot headshot, bro. Because back in MW2, the TAC M, I believe, that gun shot way slower, and it was not a one-shot to the body. It was a one-shot to the head. That Ortis needs to be a one-shot to the head. That is the only way to balance it. One-shot to the body is way too powerful. Now, I do give Infinity Ward credit because they were pretty quick to nerf them. They're much more manageable now, and you can still use them without feeling like you're using a completely broken weapon. But at the same time, I don't think they should have been that dominant in the first place. I'd much rather see a bunch of weapons being competitive instead of every lobby using the exact same few guns and everyone thinking they're going to be an optic or part of the esports league, bro. Another thing I want to talk about is tac sprint. This one is a little more personal. I personally don't hate it, so I don't really know if I really should put this in this category. I don't think it's a bad thing, but I also wouldn't really miss it if it disappeared. I know it's something a lot of people don't like, and I can understand why. For me, it's just not something that adds a whole lot to the game. If Infinity Ward decided to move away from it eventually, I honestly would not complain. And then there's the visual clutter. This isn't necessarily a huge problem for me as well. I've also gotten used to it, and I'm still able to hit my shots just fine. And if you don't know what I mean by visual clutter, I mean the guns bouncing around around a whole lot. It's not really visual recoil from you shooting the gun. It's more so like, let's say you're running, jump shot, but then your gun is like slightly angled a little bit, so you don't see like your reticle if you have a sight on, or if you're iron sights, your gun's not necessarily pointed at the guy, but if you know mentally how to line it up, it'll still hit in the middle of the screen. It's very strange, but there are just certain guns where the weapon and sights bounce around quite a bit when you're shooting. Again, it's not game breaking. I'm completely used to it at this point. I honestly don't really mind it. I kind of like the feel of it because I don't know, it's just not many games have it, and it kind of feels nice. It's just something you gotta get used to, but I can definitely see this being something people complain about, and once again, if it got removed, I wouldn't mind. Finally, there were some smaller bugs and polish issues. Now, I'm not really going to hold these against Infinity Ward because this is the beta. These are exactly the kind of things, and I expect to see these cleaned up, but I have to be fair and have to put it in the bad category because these are here. For example, there are some weird third-person animation bugs where characters will just freeze, or they'll stand like they're a fucking mannequin, or like their body will glitch out or something. It's strange. And on this next one, I don't know if it's only on Kill Block, but I've only noticed it on Kill Block. There's a little section where you can slide through these like holes and spawns of certain like sections on Kill Block, but sometimes when you slide through them, the camera gets pushed underneath the like hole, like the map geometry of the hole, and clips into your character, like kind of forces the camera like down and then back up. It's very strange. It's nothing game breaking. It's just one of those little things where you're like, yeah, that's probably not supposed to happen, and considering how quickly Infinity Ward has already been fixing bugs, I'm not too worried about these. So that's everything I'd put into the bad. None of these things completely ruin Modern Warfare 4 for me, but they're definitely things that can make the game better. And finally, the most important part of the video to me is the ugly, and there's really only two things I want to talk about here, and the first one to me is aim assist. The aim assist in Modern Warfare 4 is way too strong. I'm not talking about controller players having an advantage. I'm talking about aim assist that can feel like it's doing the aiming for you. I've seen it track players through walls. I've seen it follow players almost one for their movements, and at times it genuinely looks like aimbot. I understand that the majority of Call of Duty players are on controller. I understand that controller needs aim assist, but there's a massive difference between helping you aim and practically aiming for you. This needs to be toned down ASAP, because if this is what aim assist is going to look like at launch, I genuinely worry that we're going to start pushing PC players away from the game. And then there's the other obvious problem, cheaters. Now personally, I don't think I've actually run into many. If anything, there was maybe one person that I thought was a little sus, but that's not really the point. I've already seen plenty of videos of people cheating during the beta, and yes, I understand that this isn't the full release. A lot of these people are probably getting into the beta through codes or other means, so there's a good chance some of them aren't exactly invested in keeping their accounts, but at the end of the day, they're still cheating, and we're already seeing it during the beta. So Infinity Ward needs to get ahead of this now, because the last thing MW4 needs is to launch and immediately have a cheating problem. If the aim assist stays this strong and the cheating problem isn't addressed, that's a combination that could seriously hurt the community in Call of Duty. And now time for the final verdict of Modern Warfare 4, the good, the bad, and the ugly. There's a lot here that I genuinely love. There are definitely things that need work, and there are a couple things that I think need to be addressed immediately, but this is only week 1, so now we wait and see what Infinity Ward actually does with it. So if you all enjoyed this video, like it, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all later. Peace.